What's going on, gardeners? It's Saturday, July 30th, and it is absolutely miserable out here on the southeastern coast of North Carolina. The heat and humidity is out of control, and I know many of you are suffering in this heat as well. My garden is getting beaten up very badly. That is why I am bringing out the big guns. I am showing you my secret weapon with how you can protect your garden and your plants against extreme heat, humidity, and sunshine, and give your plants a fighting chance to have a good harvest this season. So let's get into it. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon storefront and spread shop in the video description for a list of the gardening products I use and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated. When I say the heat and humidity is severe, I really mean it. 92.7 degrees Fahrenheit with a feels like of 117.2. And that's because of this absolutely miserable humidity. So it is no joke out here. That's why I need to show you this method, because my plants are getting crushed in this heat. The overwhelming majority of plants that we grow in our garden require full sun, and full sun is defined as a minimum of 6 hours of direct, unfiltered sunlight every single day. That's because the primary source of energy for plants is photosynthesis. They use the sunshine to convert that solar energy into carbohydrates, and that is the energy source of the plants that helps them grow. So in the spring, we have to plant the overwhelming majority of our vegetables in full sun. That goes for fruit trees as well, because they need enough energy to collect to grow big and strong and fruit for us. And that is all well and good in the springtime when humidity is low, the days are long, and the UV index is reasonable. But come the summer, things kick up into overdrive. The UV index for most of us become absolutely unbearable, and that has an unintended consequence on our plants. That is because the overwhelming majority of what we grow in our vegetable gardens are not native to where we live. And we live in areas where the sun intensity is just too strong in the middle of the summer for them. And that UV intensity, that ultraviolet radiation, actually scalds and scorches the foliage, which weakens your plants, causes way too much heat stress and sun stress, and then they become sick and they become weak, and therefore a magnet for pests and disease. Just look at this cucumber plant right here. Just last week, I filmed this cucumber plant and it looked beautiful. It was doing great and pumping out cucumbers like crazy. Then we got 4 days in a row of 96 and 97 degree Fahrenheit temperatures with nonstop sun, no cloud cover, and no rain, and it bleached all of the leaves. Now my beautiful cucumber plant that was doing so well barely a week ago is now in decline, and it's going on its way out. Sometimes as gardeners, it feels like we just can't win. If we were to plant our plants in a shadier location that are protected from the extreme rays of the afternoon sun in the spring, they wouldn't get enough sunshine, they wouldn't grow fast enough, and you wouldn't have a great season. If you plant them out in full sun in the spring, where they'll do really well in the spring, the summer comes, it's too intense, they have no shade protection, and then they get destroyed. And that's what I feel like sometimes. I feel like I can't win. But you actually can. There is something that you can do. There is a secret weapon out there that can solve all of your problems, and it's fairly cheap and affordable too. And that secret weapon is shade cloth. Shade cloth is a very strong, grommeted, woven tarp that you can buy in all lengths and different percentages of shade, and you simply drape them above your plants, and that will filter out a percentage of the sunlight. This right here is a 40% shade tarp. It is phenomenal quality. It comes in all different sizes. I own several of these, three to be exact. In fact, I was using a smaller one for years to protect my pawpaw trees, and it works great. If you're interested in this exact shade tarp, I have it linked down in my Amazon storefront in the video description under the garden accessories list. This is the item that can save your life when it comes to growing plants, because you can plant your plants out in full sun and get all the benefits of full sun, but use these shade cloths to your advantage to block the harsh UV rays when you're in the dead of the summer. So this right here is a really cheap hoop house that I built across my container garden to protect it from the sun and from birds and from insects. My figs were getting picked by birds and they were going through incredible stress from the heat of the day, and my containers just couldn't maintain adequate levels of moisture. So I built a really cheap, easy structure for a couple bucks, and I draped this wonderful shade tarp over it. And I'm going to take you into here and just show you the difference. It is like night and day in here. This is almost like walking indoors. It is so much more comfortable. My trees are so much happier. They were getting such bad rust on them because of the moisture fluctuation in these containers. I would run my drip irrigation and then it would get too wet, and then the sun would come out in the afternoon and it would dry them out and they would get too dry, and that is what causes rust on a lot of trees. It's that stress, that drought and overwatered stress. And this shade cloth fixes everything because it minimizes evaporation. Look at that brutal sun. You can actually aim the camera into it through the 40% shade cloth. And I'm telling you, it is like a night and day difference in here. Everything is growing so much better. And it's still getting plenty of solar energy because the UV index is so strong right now that blocking out 40% still leaves plenty of energy. It's also having an added benefit because it's keeping all the birds out, and also this netting is great at keeping out a lot of insects as well. So I'm having no pest pressure in here, which is just wonderful because we know how bad things like SWD and other pests can be if you grow figs or other types of fruit. Now you can do two things when using the shade cloth. You could either build a structure, like a little hoop structure like I made, or you can literally just take the shade cloth and drape it over your trees or your plants. It is a little bit heavy because it's very high quality, so they could snap fragile seedlings. If you have a strong, more mature tree, it's really no problem. So I know many of you are going to ask how I built this. So I have these T-posts that are pounded into the ground, and then I took a band clamp and with this adjustable band clamp, I strapped a 3/8 inch piece of rebar to the T-post, and then I took this 1/2 inch conduit and I just slid it down on top of the rebar and then bent it over to another piece of rebar, which is right here. And the 3/8 inch rebar goes perfectly inside a 1/2 inch electrical conduit, and these conduits are UV resistant, so they'll last years. Then I simply took some PVC snap clamps and I snapped them on. I have the snap clamps linked in my Amazon storefront down in the video description as well. Here's a bit of a zoom in of my system. You can see the 3/8 inch rebar is just strapped to the T-post, and then I have the conduit slipped right over it, and then it's clipped with one of these plastic PVC clips right above it, and that holds the shade tarp on. All of these things, the rebar, the T-post, the conduit, that's all from Lowe's. The strap clamps and the adjustable clamps and the plastic clamps I got off of Amazon. Again, they're all linked in my Amazon storefront under the garden accessories list. By no means do you have to build some kind of large tunnel structure. Just a few weeks ago, I showed you how to build a modular raised bed cover out of nothing more than PVC pipe and PVC fittings from the plumbing aisle at Lowe's. I'll make sure to link to that video above because you can build something like this in about 30 minutes for very little money. Right now, I have my zucchini growing in here, and I have an insect netting over it to keep the vine borers and the squash bugs off, and it's working very well right now. However, soon I'm going to put my tomato transplants under here, and they are far more heat sensitive than the zucchini. So when that comes, I'm simply going to unclip this insect netting, and I'm going to replace it with shade cloth. And all you have to do to gain access is just pick the thing up and lift it up. No big deal. In fact, I just bought another one of these extra large 40% shade tarps that I have linked in my Amazon storefront, because I'm going to take this and actually toss it over half of my garden. One of these tarps will cover more than half of my raised bed garden. I'm simply going to toss it over the 4x4 post that I have sticking above, and then the cable trellis will also help support it. And then I'll just clip the grommeted ends to the fence that I have running along the bottom with some zip ties to secure it in place, and I'll be able to have 40% shade over my entire garden, which will dramatically reduce the stress that my plants are seeing in the sun, and it will also help keep probably some of the insects out as well. And this right here is how I'm going to protect my plants from the extreme heat and the extreme sun and keep my garden reasonably productive right now when we're at our worst heat and UV intensity of the year. And remember, this isn't just good for sun protection in terms of the middle of the summer. You can also use this to extend your harvest of your cool crops in the spring and get them started early in the fall as well. A lot of our cool crops that are left over from the spring, they tend to bolt once it starts warming up in late spring. You can drape the shade cloth over your cool crops in the spring and protect them from bolting. You can also plant your lettuces and cabbages and brassicas and other cool crops out a little bit earlier in the fall if you use this as shade protection, so you don't have to wait until it naturally cools off. You can get a jump start on the fall growing season as well. So everybody, I sure hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you're notified when we release more videos like these. Once again, if you're curious about this shade tarp, which comes in various sizes, it's linked down in my Amazon storefront in the video description under the garden accessories link. And while you're there, also check out the other things that I use for real in my garden in my Amazon storefront, as well as the spread shop link for custom merch if you want to support the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see all of you again on the next video.
Listen to that thunder, Dale. Listen to that thunder. That is not sounding good over there. We are trying to get our walk in while we can because it's nice and sunny over us, but that is all going to come to an end. Right, Dale? Dale! We're trying to enjoy the walk while we can. It's starting to drizzle. We got to hurry up and get home, buddy. We got to hurry up and get home before the big bad thunder monsters come.